Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to conservation and careful management of the state's forests to make them more resilient and better habitats for wildlife. ChooseWood.com.
From St. Louis Public Radio. This is St. Louis on the Air.
We know that energy can't be destroyed, so is it transferred to something else and then sometimes manifests as what we believe is a ghost? I woke up in the middle of the night. Someone was standing at the foot of my bed and they were dressed in like period clothing. I told my mom about it and she didn't believe me. The next night, my sister woke up to the same person standing at the foot of her bed. Are we creating paranormal activity, or does paranormal activity exist?
I'm Sarah Fensky. If you like spooky things, you probably know all about The Conjuring. The 2013 Hollywood hit was based on the supposedly true story of a family that moved into an 18th century Rhode Island farmhouse. Family members claimed they smelled rotting flesh. They felt their beds levitate. They claimed they were possessed by spirits. In 2019, a couple from Maine bought the house. They opened it to paranormal investigators. And what those people saw on site is now the focus of a new film. It's called The Sleepless Unrest, and it premieres at the Wildey Theater in Edwardsville tonight.
We have been warned something bad is still here.
At nighttime, it can be dark and sinister.
Did you pack for 2 weeks?
Yes, sir.
Let's just film everything.
Nobody's doing this. Nobody's staying at a place for more than one night or 2 nights. We're living with this.
That is from the new film, The Sleepless Unrest. And joining us now to talk about it is one of its featured paranormal investigators. That's Richel Stratton of Godfrey, Illinois. Richel, welcome.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for having me.
So, Richel, I understand you grew up in Edwardsville. When did you first have an encounter with the paranormal?
So I grew up in the Edwardsville area, a bunch of little towns around there. I had my first paranormal experience that I remember when I was 8 years old. I woke up in the middle of the night. Someone was standing at the foot of my bed and they were dressed in like period clothing. I told my mom about it and she didn't believe me. The next night, my sister woke up to the same person standing at the foot of her bed. So that's what kind of sparked the paranormal interest. I wanted to know more. I wanted to figure out what this was about. Ghosts are real, So I've been researching it since.
So medical experts have a term for that sort of weird state of consciousness between waking and sleeping. And they say that you can have a hypnagogic hallucination when you're in that state. And you might think you see somebody standing at the foot of your bed. I know you were 8 years old at the time, but now as you've researched this further, do you think there could be a medical explanation for something that feels to you and felt as an 8-year-old like a ghost?
I think that there could be possibly be a medical explanation for it. I researched that as well. I try to take out any logical cause that you could possibly have to debunk something I consider paranormal activity. I try to think logically through anything we experience.
And so what made this one, when you look back on this, what makes you think, yeah, this was paranormal?
I've seen stuff since as well, as an adult. And I've had it confirmed with other people as well that they've seen the same things that I've seen. And I am actually looking into different types of, psychosis and like how the brain functions. And is there a reason or why this could be happening? Like, are we creating paranormal activity, or does paranormal activity exist? We know that energy can't be destroyed, so is it transferred to something else and then sometimes manifests as what we believe is a ghost? And that's what I'm into. That's what I want to figure out more about.
So it sounds like you consider yourself somebody who's searching for answers. You're not sure you have them yet.
I am searching for answers always. I would say I'm a skeptic believer. So I believe that there are ghosts. I believe that there's paranormal activity, things that we can't explain or can't explain yet. So I'm trying to figure out how to explain them or what causes it.
So how do you go from having that interest and sort of some skepticism, but still believing there's something there? How do you go from that to ending up on A&E's Ghost Hunters?
Lucky. Let me just tell you. It was really crazy. So yeah, I had an interest in it, started doing paranormal investigating and ghost hunting with my sister in my 20s. She eventually was like, hey, I found this team. I'm going to join it. Do you want to come? And I was like, no, you go first. And if it's not a cult, then maybe I'll tag along. And
That's a good proviso right there.
Yeah, kind of made her a sacrificial lamb, if you want to call it that. But she went. She's like, these people are great. Like, she's like, it's nothing crazy. It's what we like to do. So I was like, okay, I want to join. But at the time, their group was kind of full. Brian, who's one of the co-founders of Riverbend Paranormal, was like, hey, we don't really need anyone. But my sister was persistent, and she's like, please let me bring her along. And he finally was like, okay, I guess. And yeah, I went to an investigation and hit it off with the team, and they let me join. And Brian and I are best friends. He's the other one of the people that we investigated the Conjuring house with. And I always like to joke with him, at first, you did not even want me around. Typical baby sister stuff.
He's trying to keep you out of this group. You end up becoming sort of one of the breakout stars from it. How do you go from being in Riverbend Paranormal and looking into this in the Metro East to being on TV?
So our group, Riverbend Paranormal, around the Metro East is pretty well known. We have a good reputation that, we investigate thoroughly and we help people. We take a lot of private cases, and some producers reached out and were like, hey, we're interested in you for a TV show, like for paranormal investigators. And I kind of thought it was a joke. Like, I thought somebody was trying to trick me. I was like, you don't want a hygienist from Illinois who likes to hunt ghosts. And it ended up not being a joke. They flew us out to California. We interviewed, investigated on camera, and they ended up picking us, and I still can't believe it.
They really wanted
sometimes.
you. Yeah. I mean, this is you're very rare in that you almost fell into fame. So many famous people seek it out. And as you mentioned, you're also a dental hygienist. You have 2 sons. Is it hard to make time for these investigations and for the travel?
It's hard, but I have a very, very good support system at home. My husband is a firefighter, and he understands. He also was a Marine, and he wants to show our children that, mom can do stuff too. And he's super supportive, and our family's supportive, and they help out watching the kids and things. And my boys, they absolutely love it. They think it's so cool, and they're very interested in it. So
it does seem like the coolest job a mom could have. My mom's a ghost hunter.
Oh, my youngest likes to tell people that. Tells all of his teachers at school, my mom's a ghost. He calls me a ghostbuster.
Ghostbuster, that's
Like,
terrific. So the Sleepless Unrest, this is debuting tonight at the Wildey Theater in Edwardsville. That you had to go to Rhode Island for, but you have hunted some ghosts much closer to home. That includes at the Mineral Springs Mall in Alton. And Alton, I feel like, is just so haunted. You could maybe do everything in Alton and be busy for a year.
Yes. Alton is, I think at one point in time it was known as the most haunted little city in America. It's rich in history, and has incredible paranormal activity. I think almost every location you could throw a rock and hit something that has paranormal activity, or you believe that has paranormal activity. In Mineral Springs Mall was pretty much Riverbend Paranormal's like home base. I've investigated that location, I can't even tell you how many times, and it's an active location and definitely always fun to go.
So do you think overall the Midwest has more than its share of haunted sites?
I think that it does. I mean, there are a lot of haunted locations around here, and I think it's absolutely amazing because also we're smack dab in the middle, so we don't really have to travel too far to get to haunted locations. But it was wonderful to travel to Rhode Island and be able to investigate the Conjuring house and knock that off my bucket list.
Yeah, so that felt like a big deal just because the Conjuring has become so famous. And it was famous because Ed and Lorraine Warren, they were famous and controversial investigators who inspired this film. Now that you've, been to this site and looked into this, do you feel like they got this one right?
I will let you know right now, the Conjuring house is haunted.
It is. You're gonna spoil this here.
I'm telling you, based off the stuff that we experienced, we lived there for 2 weeks. We submerged ourselves into it. We wanted to really know what homeowners go through, because as investigators, you may go investigate for a night or a couple hours here and there, but it's way different than living in someone's footsteps. We ate there, we slept there, we showered there. We didn't leave the Conjuring house. And let me tell you how terrifying it is to try to rinse shampoo out of your hair in a haunted location in the bathroom. Like you're in the shower, it feels like it's straight out of Psycho. Like you're going to open your eyes and someone's going to be standing there.
So you felt, coming into this interview, you suggested that you come in a little bit skeptical. You want to find an explanation for things. It sounds like in this one, you ended up coming out a believer.
Oh, definitely. And I think once people watch the film, there'll be a little bit more believers out there too. It's the stuff that we experienced at the Conjuring house was intense. It was crazy. It was so much fun. And definitely you'll understand why it's called the Sleepless Unrest. That house does not let you sleep at all.
So I got to ask, you're there for 2 weeks. You're having a terrifying experience that you also describe as so much fun. I should note, you are having some fun with this, but were you afraid that whatever this malevolence is was going to follow you home?
You always have to be concerned about that when you investigate. We do go through precautions. Each person has something different that they do. It may be superstitious or whatnot. Like, for instance, I always tell things when I'm leaving a location, you're not allowed to follow me home. And for the most part, that works for me.
They listen.
You stay. Well, I like to believe that these ghosts and spirits, entities, they're people that just passed on. So if you're respectful to them, they'll be respectful to you, and you let them know your boundaries. And typically that goes over well. So, yeah.
So, Richel, in our final few moments here, I'm wondering, have you seen this new film, The Sleepless Unrest? Have you gotten to see it yet?
No, I have not gotten to see it. I am so excited to see it. I'm a little nervous, but at the same time, I lived it. So I'm just excited to see it put together. We had cameras going 24/7. So that's a lot of footage. I'm wondering what they put in, what made it, what didn't make it. I know they did let me know that I had a personal experience while I was there. I slept in, I believe it was Andrea Perron's room, which was what the famous story from the Conjuring house, the Perron family.
Wow. Well, and unfortunately, we are out of time. But if people want to find out what happened to you, this is a great cliffhanger here as you slept in Andrea Perron's room. That film makes its premiere tonight. The red carpet starts at 7 p.m. at the Wildey Theater in Edwardsville. We have a link if people want to join you on our website, stlpr.org. Richel Stratton, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here. If you learned something new from today's episode, consider leaving us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the easiest way to help people discover our show. We appreciate it. Thank you. St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri, St. Louis.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.